The briefing room smelled like cold steel and iron scorches, the kind of place where peace never entered and secrets died quickly. Lieutenant Cade Wren leaned back in his seat, boots kicked up on the console, chewing dried stim root like it was gum the other humans cleared out hours ago. He stayed behind for the next briefing, not because he cared about orders, but because his instincts, the ones that had kept him alive through the Hikari sieges and the Vorex orbital firestorms, told him this one would be different, and it was. The chamber lights flickered as the door hissed open. She stepped in like a shadow carved from a star. Commander Thalara of the Vakari. Cade's feet dropped to the floor with a thud. Every hair on his arms stood to attention. Vakari armor wasn't just forged, it was grown. Her suit flexed with her breath, plated in obsidian segments laced with living veins of blue light. No exposed skin, no visible eyes behind the featureless, angular mask, but somehow she looked at him. Lieutenant Wren, she said, voice processed, low and perfectly void of emotion. Cade stood, masking the twitch in his jaw. So you're my partner, her head tilted slightly. You are a variable, my role is to compensate for unpredictability, he smirked, stepping forward, close enough to see the tiny runes flickering over her gauntlet. Unpredictable me. You wound me already. A soft hum emanated from her armor, not mechanical, biological. Her systems, responding. She didn't reply. From the wall, a holomap flickered to life, showing the mission zone, Sharathi-held moon, codenamed Echo Black, a fog-choked hell of abandoned biotech spires, plasma-choked winds, and enemy patrols. Objective Thalara said, touching the projection. The map zoomed into a jagged crater. Destroy this relay and extract. Timeline, 27 hours. Cade's gaze narrowed, and if we're late, they erase the crater. So romantic, he shot her a look. Tell me, Commander, what do the Vakari think about working with humans? She turned to him. We don't, we calculate. There. It was the chill, the infamous Vakari detachment. Cade had seen entire strike teams falter under their judgmental silence. They didn't speak unless it was useful. They didn't touch unless they were killing. And they never, ever removed their armor outside of ritual or death. Still, there was something strange about her, even in the way she stood. Her posture wasn't cold. It was waiting, as if part of her anticipated something she couldn't. Name, are we clear? She asked. Crystal, he said, grabbing his rifle and slinging it onto his back. But just for the record, he leaned in slightly. I don't calculate. I trust gut, instinct, the kind of stuff your kind buried 1,000 years ago. This time she didn't answer. But as they moved to the drop chamber, he could feel her eyes behind that blank faceplate. Drop point. High orbit, above Echo Black. The dropship rumbled. Inertial dampeners failing under the magnetic storm. Lightning spiderwebbed across the shield window, painting their faces in pulses of blue and white. Cade glanced sideways. Thalara hadn't moved. Her armor sat like a statue carved from violence. Your people ever jump into live storms like this? He asked. We are born in storms, she replied. He chuckled. Guess that makes me a tourist. A red warning flashed across the panel. 10 seconds to breach. Cade clipped in. So did she. Do not fall behind. Thalara said, voice cold, but my armor does not carry passengers. The dropship doors exploded open to the sound of roaring wind and fire. Then they jumped. The drop slammed into the world like a war drum. Cade's boots hit the ground with a jolt that rattled his spine. His knees sank into wet, lichen-choked earth, and a blast of scalding fog rolled over him. It smelled of acid, ozone, and decay. Spun, weapon raised, nothing but shadows and twitching foliage. A few meters ahead, Commander Thalara landed soundlessly, her living armor drinking in the heat and static like it hungered for it. Lightning arced above them, briefly illuminating the cragged silhouettes of bone trees and warped towers buried in vines. Each structure seemed half alive, twitching in the corners of his HUD. Welcome to Echo Black, Cade muttered. Lara didn't turn. Stay close. This jungle mimics thermal signatures. A low clicking echoed from the darkness, predator tone. Cade tracked the sound, rifle humming softly. Yeah, it's whispering sweet nothings already. They moved through the mire, every step squelching. The jungle pulsed with a bioelectric heartbeat, trees that flexed, vines that recoiled, and roots that throbbed beneath the soil. Rain hissed onto their armor, laced with faint traces of acid that pitted metal. No drones, no patrols. Too quiet. Cade's grip tightened, then click. His foot froze mid-step. Lara was instantly beside him, scanning the ground with an extended blade finger. Buried mine, she said. Pulse detonation. Shirathi. Tech. Old, but still alive. She didn't ask. She just acted. One fluid movement, she tackled him backward, arm curling around his waist as the jungle erupted in fire. The mine went off with a muffled boom, dirt and flame spraying upward like a geyser of molten teeth. Cade hit the mud hard, pain spiking through his shoulder. A sharp edge tore through his thigh. His visor cracked. The ringing in his ears faded just in time to hear her voice. "You're injured." Cade blinked up at her. She was kneeling over him, armor scorched, the scent of burnt resin rising from her backplate. She'd shielded him. Her breathing was heavy the first time he'd heard it. Yeah, he coughed. "But you should see the other guy." She looked down at him, silent. Then without a word, she activated her wrist module. A tendril of blue mist sprayed across his leg, sealing the bleeding, numbing the pain. Her touch was precise, practiced, but her hand lingered longer than it needed to. For a moment, the jungle went still. Even the fog paused. Cade exhaled slowly. "Didn't expect you to catch me." Thalera's visor tilted. "Vakari protocol does not allow the loss of an asset, right?" he said, smiling weakly. "An asset." She stood, back straight, and turned. "Can you walk?" "Not elegantly," Cade said, hauling himself up, "but I'll manage." They pushed deeper into the jungle ruins. Burned-out drone husks hung from trees like crucified insects. The walls of the old research spire loomed ahead, black stone grown around shattered antennae. Craters and bone fragments littered the base. Something in the architecture pulsed. Thalara paused at the threshold. This place was Vakari once. Before the collapse, Cade looked up at the warped pillars. "Looks like your ancestors threw a rave with demons." She didn't answer, just walked inside. Inside, the air was thick with static. The walls were alive, veins of dormant biometal twitching as they passed. He brushed a panel. It lit up, flashing through a memory of a Vakari screaming inside his armor as it fused too tightly to his flesh. "Charming history," Cade muttered. Thalara turned, her voice low. "They thought armor made us perfect, untouchable. But we buried what made us feel." He caught her eyes through the shifting visor glow. Just a flash. Gold irises, sharp and unreadable. "Then why are you showing me this?" he asked. She didn't move. "Because I am starting to doubt that perfection." A sound dissonant, mechanical echoed through the corridors. Shirathi, they had company. Cade raised his rifle, adrenaline spiking. "Guess this conversation's on hold." Thalara stepped forward. "Stay behind me. I kill faster." The corridor narrowed as the Shirathi shadows closed in. Slick, spider-limbed creatures clung to the walls and ceiling, organic rifles pulsing with green fire. Thalara didn't hesitate. Her arm shifted, the armor reshaped into a plasma spear, and she launched herself into the enemy with brutal precision. Cade took cover behind a collapsed stanchion, scanning for targets, but it was hard to look away. Thalara didn't fight like a soldier. She moved like a storm with intent. Every strike flowed into the next, impaling one Shirathi, then flipping another into a wall with a flash pulse that scorched bone and chitin. One scout got behind. Her Cade didn't think. He moved his rifle, barked once. The alien's skull exploded in a mist of neon gore. She turned sharply, breathing hard. Blood spattered across her gauntlet. She stared at him through her glowing visor, not with cold disapproval, but something else. Something sharper. "Personal. You broke cover," she said flatly. "I saw an opening," he replied, "and you were about to get perforated. I am designed to withstand such angles." "Well, I'm not. So maybe next time just say thank you, Commander." Silence. Thick and full of heat. She stepped forward. "Why do you do it?" "Do what?" "Protect. Without logic. Without tactical benefit. You act emotionally." He shook his head. "Maybe because I don't like watching my partner bleed." She paused. The silence stretched. "I am not your partner," she said at last. "I am your mission equal. We are temporary assets." Cade tilted his head, studying her. "Right. Just a living kill algorithm wrapped in metal and mystery. No feelings, no fear. No." He stopped himself. She didn't move, but the armor around her throat glowed faintly. Breathing, maybe, or hesitation. "What were you about to say?" she asked softly. He gave a crooked grin. "Nothing that wouldn't get me marshaled." More silence. Then, without a word, she walked past him. Her voice came from over her shoulder. "Emotion, clouds, command. Desire has no place in war." But her steps were slower now. Measured, they reached a sealed blast door near the heart of the spire. Old Vakari code etched into the stone. A warning. Cade moved closer. "What's it say?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "Only those who fear nothing may enter." Sounds like a challenge. She didn't answer. The door hissed open. The mirror Voltim light. Walls covered in sleek black panels, reflecting distorted versions of themselves. As Cade stepped in, his image shimmered younger, bloodier, angrier. He turned. Behind him, Thalara stood still. The reflections didn't show her armor. They showed her unarmored, naked, alien, beautiful, and terrified. Cade stared, stunned. "Is that you?" Her breath caught. "This chamber reads what is hidden. It sees the truth." She turned away from the walls, as if ashamed. Cade approached gently. "You're afraid. I was taught not to be, but you are. Right now." She didn't speak. He stepped closer, barely inches away now. "So am I." Her gaze snapped to him. "Of what?" "That this matters," he said, softer than ever. "That this isn't just some mission, or some tactic. That I'm starting to care what happens to you, and I don't know what that means." She stared at him. The light from the walls made her armor look like it was pulsing, alive with breath and heartbeat. "You care," she repeated, as if testing the word on her tongue. He nodded slowly. "I don't expect it back. I just needed to say it before one of us dies." Silence. Then, she said something so quiet it barely registered. "I don't want you to die." Cade blinked. The confession came like a weapon aimed inward, but before either could move, a sharp alert sliced through the chamber. A countdown. Enemy beacon. The Sharathi had located them. "Evac in 10 minutes, Cade said, breaking the moment. Thalara nodded, armor already shifting into war form, but before she sealed her mask, she whispered, "You shouldn't care for me." "Too late," he said, locking his rifle. The jungle was no longer silent. It hissed, clicked, pulsed, alive with rage. The Sharathi had activated a swarm. From high above, their pursuit drones descended like falling stars, heat-seeking and cloaked in spectral static. In the dark they looked like burning angels of bone and wire. Cade and Thalara ran, weaving through twisted roots and shattered ruins. Lightning carved their shadows across the underbrush as the alarm still echoed behind them, a heartbeat counting down there. "Death evac point is 3 clicks west," Cade shouted, scanning with his cracked visor. "We'll never make it without cover." "There's a subchamber ahead," Thalara said, voice like sharpened glass. "Sealed, coded, Vakari, and you can open it." "I can try." They rounded a corner and came face to face with 3 Sharathi shock troopers, clawed arms, plated skulls, eyes glowing with synthetic hate. The lead Sharathi snarled, "The bonded one is here." Thalara froze. Cade didn't. He pulled the trigger. The first shot blew through a trooper's mouth. The others lunged. Fast as lightning, Thalara roared, and the sound wasn't human, wasn't trained, it was felt. She moved with unshackled brutality. Her blade sliced a trooper in half, then whirled to catch the last one by the throat. Hissed, spitting acid, even as her grip crushed his windpipe. "You broke your kind," he hissed in a rasp. For a human, her voice was low, guttural. "No, I broke the lie." She slammed him into the stone until he fell still. Silence returned, panting and raw. Cade wiped blood from his brow, blinking through the heat and steam. "You're right." Thalara didn't answer. Dart instead. She turned to the nearby wall, a black slab half swallowed by root and fungus, and placed her hand against it. Symbols lit up, ancient Vakari runes flickering like memories. The door cracked open with a hiss of ancient breath. Inside, the chamber of echoes, a long corridor of mirrors and light. This time, the walls showed no distortions, only truth. Not who you were, but who you feared to become. Cade's reflection showed him older, colder eyes like stone. Alone Thalara's hers showed her armorless, surrounded by others like her, all silent. As they turned their backs, she inhaled sharply and closed her eyes. "I was bred to lead," she whispered. "To kill, to obey. Emotion is our failure state." Cade watched her carefully. "Then why did you save me?" She opened her eyes slowly. "Because when you stepped between me and that mine, something broke. Something old." She turned toward him. Her voice faltered. "I cannot name what it is, but I feel it." Cade nodded. "We call it connection. Sometimes love. Usually trouble." He stepped closer. The room dimmed, shadows folding like wings, then pain struck. He fell hard, clutching his side. His wound from earlier had reopened, the shrapnel deeper than he thought. Thalara rushed to his side, scanning him. "The acid tore through your secondary artery. Your clotting agents are failing." He grinned weakly. "Well, I did say I wasn't built for war." Her hands hovered. "I can stop the bleeding, but I must lower my armor protocols." Direct contact. His heart thudded. "Do it." She hesitated. Then, slowly, her gauntlet split open at the wrist, revealing bare Vakari skin beneath, dark, luminous, warm with internal glow. She pressed her palm to his wound. He hissed, not from pain, but from what followed. Her skin pulsed. The nights passed from her body into his, surging through his system like stars in his veins. His pain faded. His heartbeat slowed. But more than that, he felt her memories not. His own fire, silence, isolation, the cold weight of being perfect, the shame of being curious, and then the moment he smiled at her in the jungle, the moment she didn't understand why her heart responded. She pulled her hand away, breath shaking. Cade blinked, stunned. What was that bond resonance? She whispered. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. Their eyes locked. A silence heavier than any weapon filled the chamber. Then the evac alert buzzed in his ear. Dropship arriving in 2 minutes. Cade stood slowly. We'll make it. Thalara nodded, voice distant. You should not feel for me, human. I do anyway, he said quietly. She said nothing, but as she walked ahead, her hand brushed his for just a moment. The dropship burned down through the lightning-choked sky like a flaming dagger. Wind howled across the ruined clearing as Cade and Thalara broke through the last of the jungle brush. Plasma smoke trailing from their armor. Behind them, the jungle screamed. The Shirathi swarm was still hunting and they were closing fast. Cade limped forward, his wounds sealed but aching. Thalara walked beside him, silent, her movements not quite as smooth as before. Her armor flickered, tiny pulses of distortion running along the surface. Cade noticed it first. You're glitching. Thalara didn't look at him. My systems are conflicted. Emotion interferes with core protocols. The armor doesn't know who I am anymore. He stopped walking. That's not a bug. That's evolution. She turned, slowly, like she was afraid of what she'd see in his face. I feel split. My purpose and my desire do not align. And when that happens in Vakari biology, you're punished. Cade finished. Aren't you? Her silence said everything. Above, the dropship hovered in VTOL position, its magnetic clamps locking onto the outcropping. But before they could board, the jungle cracked open behind them with a shriek. 6 Shirathi brutes, larger than any they'd faced, emerged in a semicircle, surrounding the landing zone. One stepped forward, its chest plate peeling back to reveal a writhing mass of biospikes. You are the broken one, it hissed. To Thalara, you've shed your path. For him, its rifle arm cocked with a fleshy snap. End her now or we kill you both. Thalara stood still, unreadable. The storm flashed above. Wind kicked up dust and sparks. Cade slowly raised his rifle. Don't even think about it. Thalara held up a hand. Lower it. No. I must face this. Her voice shook, not with fear, but choice. She stepped forward. The lead Shirathi laughed. You would die with him. No, she said. I would live with him. And then it happened. Her armor began to shift, not into battle mode, but into release mode. The plates along her spine lifted. Vapor hissed from hidden vents. The blue veins running through the suit pulsed brighter, then dimmed. Her helmet split, the faceplate dissolving like ash into the air. Cade stared, frozen. First time seeing her, not the soldier, not the armored shadow. Her smooth skin, a cross between onyx and starlight, silver markings across her temples, eyes glowing faintly, not with calculation, but feeling. The Shirathi screamed in alarm. She's unstable. Cade didn't move. She reached up with both hands and removed the final piece, the breastplate. It clanged to the ground, useless now. The jungle hissed. Her body radiated power, raw, unfiltered, unarmored. She turned toward Cade. This is me, she said quietly, without armor, without control. And I give this to you. He stepped forward, slowly, reverently, as if she were made of something fragile. Thalara, she reached out and touched his face, bare skin to skin. The jungle exploded. Shirathi opened fire, but it was too late. The dropship's side cannons activated, raining plasma into the brutes. Cade tackled Thalara to the ground, shielding her with his own body as the world lit up in fire and smoke. They rolled behind a fallen pillar. Are you hurt? She gasped. He smiled through ash and debris. I'm with you. That's all that matters. She looked at him like she had never seen a human before. You desired me. I did, he said. Still do. Her eyes closed and she kissed him. No armor, no barriers, just a spark, unfiltered, burning between two people who were never meant to meet. The gunfire faded. The dropship landed. A Vakari signal beacon blinked in Cade's HUD. He glanced at her. She glanced at her, nodded, calm now, powerful, chosen. Let them come, she whispered. They'll find I'm not theirs anymore. The storm had passed, but the sky above Echo Black still pulsed with radioactive tension. Inside the dropship's hold, silence hung heavier than gravity. Thalara sat alone in the aft section, a thermal blanket draped over her bare shoulders. Her armor lay in a broken heap on the floor, cracked plates, drained energy cores, stripped of all command code hierarchy. She had done the unthinkable. The armor hadn't just been a suit, it had been identity. Vakari warriors were never seen. Without it, never touched, never humanized, until now, and because of that, everything was about to collapse. Cade stood at the forward console, helmet off, watching the long-range scanners. His rifle rested at his side, but tension carved lines into his brow. He had fought monsters, machines, and madness, but now, he was facing something far more dangerous. Politics. The Vakari High Command had already pinged the ship twice. Demands protocol breaches. Warnings, they'll try to retrieve me, Thalara said, breaking the silence. Cade didn't turn. They'll try to erase you. A pause. Then they'll erase you, too. He finally looked back. What if we don't let them? Thalara tilted her head, watching him. You think we can fight the Vakari Empire and the Shirathai swarm? No, he said. But I think we can make them hesitate. She stood, the blanket sliding off as she approached. She wasn't hiding anymore, and that gave her a strange power, not the violent kind, but the honest kind. I crossed a line when I removed the armor, she said. But it wasn't just because of you. She pressed her palm to the bioscanner. Her command clearance still worked for now. A hologram flickered to life between them. It showed the original relay station, the target they'd destroyed. But now the image widened, revealing multiple backup relays across Vakari space. Hidden, undocumented. Cade stared. Why are they duplicating these? Because they weren't just surveillance, Thalara said. There were manipulation, psychological networks, subtle, pulse-level broadcasts designed to control emotions in their own citizens. Cade's blood chilled. You mean they were programming us to obey, she said, including me, especially me. She paused, watching him with something almost like wonder. But I broke. No, he said, stepping closer. You woke up. A harsh alert screamed through the console. Cade spun toward the comms. Unauthorized combat ship detected. Vakari cleanse unit inbound. ETA 6 minutes. Thalara didn't flinch. They sent a black null, she said. It's not for capture. It's for termination. Cade grabbed his rifle. Then we go down fighting. But Thalara raised a hand. Not yet. I have a better idea. She stepped into the center of the room, where her fractured armor lay. She lifted one of the gauntlets, turning it over, tapping into its genetic memory threads. I can use this to create a signal loop, she said, one that mimics compliance, just long enough to let them drop their guard. Cade nodded. And then we show them what happens when you weaponize love. She paused. I mean that literally. This signal, it's powered by intent, feeling. Cade blinked. Wait, you're saying your armor knows you fell for me? It knows, she whispered, that I chose you, that I would defy my species for you, and that scares them more than any weapon. She stepped forward, eyes glowing bright. So let's give them something to fear. 6 minutes later, Edge of Echo, Black's orbiter Vakari nullship hovered above the jungle like a god's executioner. It sent down a single message: surrender the dishonored. Inside the dropship, Thalara took Cade's hand. I'm not surrendering, she said. I'm transmitting. She triggered the pulse. A blinding wave erupted from the dropship. Not violent, but luminous. A psychic burst encoded with rebellion, choice, love. Not weakness, but awakening. Across the nullship's command deck, systems began to fail. Armor plates on Vakari soldiers shimmered, hesitated, confused. Orders, delayed, protocols jammed. The message was spreading. They had started a virus, not of code but of freedom. The Vakari nullship did not fall. It shuddered. A vessel forged for silent obliteration, unbending, unyielding, now hovered uncertainly in orbit above Echo Black's ruined canopy, its hull flickering with emotional dissonance. Inside its systems, chaos had taken root, and it had a name. Tha Lara. Her transmission, an unfiltered pulse of choice, vulnerability, and rebellion had gone viral, not digital. Cultural. Inside the nullship command prime, Derek's snarled as alarms cascaded across his interface. Contain the breach. But soldiers weren't responding fast enough. Some were motionless, others trembling. One dropped his helmet, eyes wet as if seeing color for the first time. I felt warmth, a Vakari officer whispered. Derek's turned venom in his voice. That's not warmth. That's infection. We are not weak like the humans. But the damage had already spread. Thalara's minprint, the raw psychic memory of her removing her armor, of standing bare in front of a human and choosing him, was destabilizing centuries of indoctrination in seconds. On the surface, Cade watched the sky through the canopy, gripping his pulse rifle tight. They're hesitating. Thalara stood beside him, her face calmer than it should have been. They're questioning. That's enough. She handed Cade a memory shard shaped like a small obsidian gem. What's this? My last insurance, a coded message for the Vakari resistance. Not all of us are loyal to the Empire. There's a hidden fracture. This will make it break wide open. Cade tucked it into his vest. You're risking everything. I already did, she said. The moment I let you see me. A sonic boom cracked across the forest. A Vakari strike pod screamed downward and smashed into the ravine just 100 meters east, sending birds and ash spiraling into the air. Cade leveled his rifle. They're coming. The skirmish from the pod. 3 Vakari enforcers emerged, taller, bulkier, and still fully armored. Their faceplates glowed a harsh, sterile white. By decree of Command Prime, the lead hissed, the traitor is to be disintegrated. The human extracted for psychological vivisection. Thalara stepped forward. No. The enforcer's voice distorted with static rage. You are nothing without your armor. I'm everything without it, she replied. Cade opened fire first, 2 direct hits to the lead's shoulder plates. Thalara launched forward, flipping beneath a sweeping glaive, her bare fists glowing with residual surge energy from the emotional pulse. She struck the ground, and a shockwave lifted one enforcer clear off his feet. But they weren't here to kill quickly. They wanted to make a message of her in the fights. Furicade was slammed into a tree trunk, coughing blood. Thalara, cornered and bruised, staggered back as one enforcer raised his weapon. You desecrated our legacy, the enforcer growled. For what? Flesh. Emotion. For truth. She spat. She closed her eyes, and triggered the backup shard. A deafening, personalized signal burst outward. This one wasn't global, it was targeted. Straight into the mind of the lead enforcer. His body locked up, armor hissed, and then he stumbled backward, not dead, not broken, but shaken. His weapon dropped. I saw your memory, he said. You stood before the human without fear, without shame, and he didn't hurt you. He honored me, Thalara whispered. That's what they've hidden from us. Choice. The enforcer looked down at his own gauntlet, then at her, then turned. Retreating. The other enforcer, confused, followed. Only one stayed. Traitors, she snarled. All of you, she charged. Cade grabbed a fallen glaive and intercepted, the impact nearly shattering his arm, but Thalara lunged past him with a cry, not of pain, but resolve, and drove the energy core from her old gauntlet straight into the attacker's chest. A burst of blue fire, silence, aftermath, smoke, curled around the battlefield. The jungle was quiet again. Cade sat against a rock, bleeding but alive. Thalara dropped beside him. You okay? She asked, breathless. I'll live you. She smiled weakly. No, going back now. He took her hand. Would you want to? No. Above, the null ship began rising slowly, then with a jerk. As if suddenly uncertain of its mission. Inside its hold, dozens of Vakari soldiers stared at each other, and for the first time in living memory, they were unsure of what orders to follow. The null ship fractured silently in orbit, not with explosions or fire, but something far more dangerous to an empire built on fear. Uncertainty. Inside its shadowy command chamber, Prime Commander Derricks screamed orders, but half the bridge crew refused to move. Their fingers hovered over controls. Some stared at reflections in their polished gauntlets. She bared herself to the human and survived. One lieutenant muttered, she didn't beg, she didn't burn, and he didn't break. She was stronger. Another said no, Derricks growled. She is corrupted. Execute protocol no one, scorch the entire forest, bury her choice in ash. But no one moved. Instead, one by one, Vakari soldiers removed their helmets, not as a surrender, but as a statement. The code was crumbling. Echo. Black below on the jungle floor, Cade could barely stand. His ribs were cracked, one eye swollen shut. He leaned on a branch as he stared into the sky. Thalara, he whispered. They're not firing. Thalara didn't reply at first. She stood still, breathing shallowly, as if listening for something beneath the wind. I think they're listening. The signal shard she activated hadn't just shaken the strike team, it had seeded a psychic loop into every ship tuned to the command band. A loop of emotion, of her moment when she stepped forward, dropped her armor, and offered trust to someone raised to be her enemy. And now, that moment echoed inside thousands of minds. Vakari uprising across multiple fleets. Something impossible happened. Whole detachments began to pause during drills. An elite boarding team in Sector 6B stopped mid-breach and sat down instead of storming the airlock. In a citadel on Ladder Prime, a Vakari instructor tossed his indoctrination script into the fire, and at the heart of the rebellion, a simple image spread. Not data, not weapon specs, not a kill count. A still frame of Thalara and Cade, her hands open, his hand reaching toward hers, neither armed, neither armored, are both alive. The decision above back aboard the null ship. Derek saw it all unravel. Control slipping, officers rebelling. But it was the youngest of the bridge cadets, barely out of genetic conditioning, who turned to him and said, "You taught us the humans were monsters, but they gave her back her soul." Derek lunged to crush him, but before he could, 3 others tackled the commander to the ground. "We are not shadows anymore," one growled. "We choose," another said. Now, the final transmission. Thala activated her old armor's chest node, not to wear it, but to broadcast. Her voice spread across the shattered empire. To every Vakari who still hears the old voices, "You were never just tools. You are not hollow, you are not machines. I stood without armor. I chose truth. I chose love. And I live. So can you." Across the galaxy, Vakari everywhere stopped, paused, and removed their helmets. Epilogue. Years later, the Galactic Accord. 3rd anniversary. A new monument stood outside the assembly hall, half metal, half stone. On one side, a carved relief of a Vakari woman stepping forward with no armor. On the other, a human man reaching out. At its base, she chose not to kill thee, he chose not to run. The galaxy was never the same. Inside, Cade Wren, now an ambassador, stood beside Thalara, who wore no armor even now. They watched as the first joint human Vakari Academy graduated its inaugural class. One of the cadets asked nervously, "Commander Thalara, do you regret it?" She smiled. "I regret I waited so long." Another asked Cade, "What did you really want that day, sir?" He looked at Thalara and said simply, "Her moral. When a soul dares to trust, empires can fall and rise again stronger, freer, and more human than ever before."